The FIA sends a statement to teams and drivers. Mercedes is prepared for a strong end to the season, and Lewis Hamilton's strong form is explained. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's get straight into the latest F1 news. Following the announcement that Jonathan Wheatley would leave Red Bull, Ted Kravitz has revealed there's speculation Max Verstappen's longtime race engineer, Gianpiero Lambiase, could replace him as the team's sporting director. Red Bull announced last month that longtime sporting director Wheatley would leave his position at the end of this season to become Audi's team principal in a dual management partnership with former Ferrari team boss Mattia Binotto. Announcing his departure after 18 years with the team, Red Bull team boss Christian Horner revealed he would be promoted from within the Red Bull ranks as they sought a replacement for the long-serving sporting director. Red Bull Racing has tremendous strength and depth, and this provides an opportunity to elevate others within the team, said the Briton. We will announce a new team structure in the coming weeks. Almost immediately, it was suggested Verstappen's longtime race engineer Lambiase was leading the queue. Lambiase has been with Verstappen ever since he joined Red Bull, the old married couple forging a formidable partnership that has yielded 61 Grand Prix victories and 3 world titles. But it is now being suggested the duo could split up at the end of this season, with Lambiase instead taking up the running of the Red Bull race team, half of Wheatley's role with another named as the FIA rules guru. Who are they going to get to replace him is the question, Kravitz told the latest Sky F1 podcast. Because being such a valuable guy in terms of the rules and keeping a razor-sharp race team, how are they going to divide up? I can think of quite a few guys within Red Bull who were mechanics and have risen through to be that sort of senior-level mechanic role, which Wheatley, of course, used to be a chief mechanic at Benetton and Renault. That's how he got into his position. I can imagine those guys moving up, and they know the rules as well. Some people have speculated that Gianpiero Lambiase might go into that sporting director role. I don't think he wants to leave the cut and thrust and the fun of race engineering. Podcast host Matt Baker chipped in, being shouted out by Max Verstappen every week. That is quite fun, until it's not, Kravitz replied. But it's fun winning races and winning championships, so I'm not sure whether GP would want to leave that. Red Bull are going to promote from within, and there's probably going to be this thing where they actually get 2 people. They'll probably be one of the chief mechanics, who will run the race team, pit stops, and all of that. And they'll find somebody who knows the rules very well, who they'll put into the sporting manager or sporting director role. Lambiase's potential promotion comes at a time when Verstappen is said to be deciding his Formula One future, with Mercedes and Aston Martin keen to sign him for the F1 2026 championship. Former F1 driver Mark Schurer credited the 2023 improvement from Williams to former team boss Jost Capito, claiming James Vowles is overrated and has overseen a deterioration of the team. A stalwart of Team Brackley, Vowles took the plunge by leaving his Mercedes chief strategist role to become a Formula One team principal for the first time at Williams, taking over the iconic team ahead of the 2023 campaign, a season which brought about a marked improvement as Williams collected 28 points and P7 in the Constructors' Championship. F1 2024 has been more of a struggle, though, with Williams taking just 4 points from the first 14 rounds, though Vowles has been preaching his vision for Williams' future as the team looked to focus on the 2026 regulatory reset to come, with next season set to be dedicated entirely to work on the 2026 car. Carlos Sainz, who was on the lookout for a new F1 home with Lewis Hamilton to replace him at Ferrari, has signed up to the Williams vision under Vowles, but sure, it is safe to say has not bought into it. Reflecting on Sainz's decision to join Williams, Schurer told Formel1.de, "Why should they suddenly get so much better now? They have got worse this year, you mustn't forget that. I've often said that James Vowles is simply overrated. Jost Capito built a car with his people. James Vowles came to Williams, took the car, and they finished in the points. It looked really good, and all the praise went to James Vowles, but not to the man who built the car. Jost Capito was gone. And now that he is building his own car this year, the car is too heavy and too slow, and the updates are too slow. I think they have clearly deteriorated at Williams." Schurer did offer some hope for Williams in this gloomy analysis, claiming, "Maybe they'll learn from that now and things will be a bit better next year." However, with the focus on the 2026 car, he believes scoring more points will be the reality for Williams, not a surge closer to the front of the grid. We must not forget, you can't change too much for next year because you have to build the new car then, Scherer continued. From 1st January, they can start designing the new car and everyone will do that. That means that things will be much better at Williams next year? I would doubt that. Points, yes, but I don't think they'll be up there at the front. Williams has not yet put all their eggs in the F1 2026 basket, with Vowles having confirmed that updates are coming after the F1 2024 break, which should put Williams back in the hunt for points. We have updates coming after the summer break, Vowles told media, including PlanetF1.com. I hope in Zandvoort, and then I hope again in Baku, or the race after Baku, which I think is Singapore. In the world of Formula One, they're big steps. They're substantive numbers that should add up to us being back in a position of fighting for points. And it's achieved through a number of things. It's aerodynamic updates. You're going to see a suspension update, and you're going to see weight coming off the car. So it's fundamentally 3 core routes whereby we're doing this. And once Williams welcomes Sainz into the team from next season, he will find Alex Albon, scorer of all 4 of Williams' points so far in F1 2024, on the other side of the garage. Committing his future to Ferrari a week before the bombshell Lewis Hamilton announcement, Charles Leclerc was kept abreast with the developments as Hamilton negotiated his swap to Ferrari. Hamilton broke the internet back in February when the Briton announced that he had exercised a release clause in his Mercedes contract and would leave the team at the end of the 2024 championship. Shortly after, Ferrari confirmed his signing in a brief statement that simply read, Scuderia Ferrari is pleased to announce that Lewis Hamilton will be joining the team in 2025 on a multi-year contract. Hamilton's move to Ferrari means he'll partner Leclerc in 2025 as the two chase Ferrari's first driver's title since the 2007 F1 championship. The 7-time world champion's decision to swap silver for red surprised many in the paddock, including his Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff, who was informed of his decision some 24 hours before the announcements went out. One person, though, who wasn't surprised was Leclerc. It had been in the air for a while, but until there is an official confirmation, you can't be sure, he told the Italian edition of Motorsport. I knew there was interest from both sides, and in these cases it is very likely that an agreement will be reached. I didn't ask to know more, it's not part of my role, but I must say that everyone has always been very open and sincere with me. So open that the Monegasque driver knew the situation was moving forward, even before the official confirmation that he'd have a new teammate in Hamilton come 2025. Fred Vasseur told me, but I repeat, day after day I had the perception that things were going in that direction, he said. Honestly, I don't remember a specific phone call in which they informed me of Lewis's arrival, probably because I wasn't surprised by the agreement. It was a conviction that grew progressively until the official announcement. Hamilton's signing meant the end of the Ferrari road for Carlos Sainz, who first partnered with Leclerc in 2021 when he joined the team after a 2-year stint with McLaren. The 3-time Grand Prix winner will join Williams next season, signing for 2025 and beyond. But although Leclerc is looking forward to partnering Hamilton, he was quick to point out his good relationship with his soon-to-be former teammate Sainz. At the same time, when you have a 7-time world champion joining the team, it is always good news, very interesting and very motivating. It is interesting because I will be able to learn from one of the best drivers in the entire history of F1, and it is very motivating because I am intrigued by the comparison with Lewis with the same car. For these 2 reasons, I can't wait to start this new chapter, but I still want to say that I have always had a great time with Carlos too. Mercedes are working on a sequence of important upgrades for the W15. After 2 years of trial and error with updates, the Silver Arrows are confident about the next few months. Their existing aerodynamic platform is relatively new, meaning there is still potential for significant growth. Technical Director James Allison has spoken openly about his optimism for the future. In many ways, last year was a write-off for Mercedes. They were forced to make fundamental changes to their concept, a process that was overseen by James Allison. The decision to replace Mike Elliott, who could be heading to Ferrari, was an admission that a new direction was necessary. It also signaled the beginning of a transitional period for the team. When the 2024 season began, genuine concerns persisted at Mercedes. The W15 proved very unpredictable, with changes to track temperature often upsetting balance. This was consistent in the opening races, when Red Bull seemed on track to comfortably claim another championship. However, Mercedes managed to make a breakthrough. A new front wing introduced in Monaco, in combination with other changes to the W15, corrected the car's initial instability. After bringing this upgrade package, the team's correlation issues went away. For the first time in years, Mercedes saw the performance gains in the wind tunnel translate onto the track. Confidence was clearly growing at the Brackley factory, with James Allison hinting at significant upgrades still in the pipeline. Toto Wolff's team will make another update push after the summer break. The final upgrades of the year will arrive in the next few months, before development for 2025 becomes the priority. This is a critical phase. For most outfits, the primary aim is to develop next year's car as quickly as possible so they can prioritize their resources on the 2026 regulations. In this sense, Mercedes must balance their short and medium-term priorities. To be clear, starting development sooner does not always equate to success. The German constructor spoke candidly in 2021 about their decision to shift resources to the 2022 season. Meanwhile, Red Bull were still bringing new components at the 2021 finale in Abu Dhabi. A few months later, despite beginning work on the new regulations sooner, Mercedes were several steps behind the Austrian team. Because of this, as is often the case in F1, making predictions is difficult. Still, what seems relatively clear is that Mercedes should have a very strong second half of the year. Kevin Magnussen has admitted the prospect of being in a new situation next year is exciting to him, as he gets ready to embark on his final 10 Grand Prix with Haas. The American team opted not to retain the services of the 31-year-old, instead partnering outgoing Alpine driver Esteban Ocon with rookie Oliver Bearman in 2025. It is the second time the Dane has been let go by Haas, who dropped him and then teammate Romain Grosjean at the end of the 2020 F1 season. Magnussen was ushered back into the fold after a season away to replace Nikita Mazepin at short notice, but has been comprehensively beaten by Nico Hülkenberg over the past 2 years. With only realistic seats still available at Alpine and Stake, neither of which he is seriously considered to be in the running for, the one-time podium finisher's F1 options are looking thin. However, despite wishing for more clarity on what his immediate future has in store, Magnussen does feel a level of excitement in knowing that next year will offer something new. "I'm getting to a point where it would be nice to know that certainty is always nice," he told select media, including Racing News 365, when discussing his next career move. But at the same time, there's also something kind of exciting about knowing that next year will be different. I'm going to be in a new situation. There's something exciting about that. During his season outside F1 in 2021, Magnussen raced in IMSA and competed in the 24 Hours of Le Mans alongside his father Jan. He was also drafted in for an IndyCar Grand Prix of Road America round, deputizing for the injured Felix Rosenqvist at Aero McLaren. Magnussen remains open-minded about his next move and says non-F1 options could take priority over staying put. "It completely depends on what that other opportunity would be," he explains when asked if he would choose F1 over the chance to win another series. "F1 is the big pinnacle of motorsport, and everyone tends to hang on as long as they can. I would like to try and race, but I'm only 31 years old. It's not like I'm stressing." The Mercedes Formula One team thinks that Lewis Hamilton has benefited more than teammate George Russell from the gains made with the W15. The German manufacturer had a tough start to the season, with its 2024 F1 Challenger proving to be inconsistent and having a narrow performance window. However, as the squad has unlocked the secrets of its potential, the car has moved towards the front of the grid and has now won 3 of the last 4 races. That step forward has also coincided with Hamilton being able to get more out of it, having struggled against Russell in the early stages of the campaign. Mercedes trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin thinks that Hamilton's form now is so much better, because he was especially struggling with the characteristics of the car in its infancy. "I think early on perhaps Lewis was finding the car more difficult to deal with," explained Shovlin. "One of the areas that we've improved with the car is being able to land with a setup in first practice that is a good foundation to start building on performance and then fine-tuning it. That helps your weekend enormously. In the early part of the year, we were making relatively small changes, and suddenly the whole car balance left us, and we were really struggling. And yeah, it's probably fair to say that in the earlier races, Lewis was finding it more difficult to set up than George." Mercedes and Hamilton are aware that the current generation of ground effect cars and tires are not ideal for the 7-time champion's driving style, as he cannot exploit his full potential in braking. However, as Mercedes has unlocked more speed from the car, Shovlin says that both drivers are now demanding similar things from it. There's a certain driving style that suits these tires, he said. You tend to find that the two drivers are never that far apart on setup now. So once the car's in a good window, the same thing's working pretty well for both of them. And between sessions, they're studying what the other one's doing to try to find where the gains are. But through the year, the two of them have been working together. Early on, neither of them wanted to be finishing where we were, and they were able to help each other through trying different experiments with setup and driving style. Overall, you progress as a team, and that's how a team with two drivers works. Chauvelin admitted that early races were a particular challenge for everyone because the team felt so close to the front, but was still not finishing in the positions it wanted. In the first bit of the year, a lot of it was quite frustrating because we were finishing 5th, 6th, 7th, and often you'd see that with just another 10th of performance we'd have been 3 places up the grid, he added. So we've made progress. FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem has said wording in the International Sporting Code has changed to allow stewards to show strength in clamping down on abuse. Ben Sulayem said research has shown a direct link between negative comments about officials and subsequent online hate, and he confirmed the definition of misconduct within the rules has been changed to offer powers to protect against this. Given the nature of sports people protesting against the decisions made by those in charge, and the public way in which Formula One radio messages are played out in real time, the sport often broadcasts messages in which drivers or teams disagree with verdicts handed out by the FIA stewards. When those disagreements are more fervent, FIA President Ben Sulayem has said investigations carried out have shown a direct link, when drivers and team members speak out against them, to a subsequent rise in online abuse. He confirmed a change to the International Sporting Code has been approved too, to the definition of misconduct regarding language, with members having agreed on such a change. Writing in a statement posted to his Instagram story, Ben Sulayem said, "As part of our ongoing fight against online abuse, recent investigations have shown that there is a direct link between negative comments from drivers and team members and increased hate directed towards officials on social media. At the last World Motorsport Council, members approved a change to the definition of misconduct within the ISC International Sporting Code, following incidents in which high-profile members of our sport have made statements towards officials that incite abuse. This change will ensure further support for the FIA officials and volunteers who dedicate their time to improving our sport, keeping it safe and fair. Our stewards must be prepared to show strength when combating this form of abuse, and they have my full support and the support of the International Sporting Code when making their decisions. I urge them to show that the FIA will not allow abuse of any kind within our sport. In the current edition of the ISC, the relevant part of the rules states that misconduct constitutes the general use of language, written or verbal, gesture and/or sign that is offensive, insulting, coarse, rude, or abusive, and might reasonably be expected or be perceived to be coarse or rude, or to cause offense, humiliation, or to be inappropriate. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.